2 hours before my younger brother's engagement dinner, my father cornered me beside the coat closet and said, "Tonight, don't tell anyone you're Daniel's sister." I laughed because the request was absurd. He didn't. "They're an important family, Nora," he whispered. "Federal judges, senior attorneys, people who value polish. Your military background may feel complicated." Complicated. That was his word for 14 years of service. 2 deployments, disaster relief, and nights calling families after missions failed. "What should I be then?" I asked. "A family friend." For a moment, all I could hear was the old hallway clock. My mother's portrait hung above it, her smile seeming disappointed. I wanted to refuse. I wanted to tell him shame belonged to the person hiding the truth, not the person living it. But Daniel had called me every week since proposing to Sophie Vale. He sounded happier than he had in years. I would not turn his celebration into a battlefield. "Fine," I said. "One night." The dinner was held in a hotel ballroom overlooking the river. Crystal lights shimmered above round the tables dressed in ivory linen. Sophie's elegant relatives filled the front half while my father floated among them, wearing a smile that begged for acceptance. At the entrance, a hostess checked my name. "Nora Bennett," I said. Her finger paused on the list. "Family friend, table 19. Table 19 sat beside the service doors. From there, I watched Daniel and Sophie greet guests beneath an arch of white roses. My father introduced my aunt and cousins. When someone asked about me, he gestured vaguely toward the back and said, "A longtime family acquaintance." Daniel heard him. Our eyes met. He looked away. That hurt more than my father's request. I sat alone while waiters carried silver trays past me. I had endured colder rooms and lonelier nights than this lonely table. Still, none had come from the people whose photographs I kept inside my footlocker. Then, an elderly man rose from Sophie's family table. He was tall and white-haired, carrying a black cane and quiet authority. Conversation softened as he crossed the ballroom. He stopped beside me. I stood, assuming I had somehow taken the wrong seat. Instead, his face brightened. "Colonel Bennett, you saved my grandson." 6 words, spoken softly, silenced the room. I recognized him at once. Judge Malcolm Vale, Sophie's grandfather. "Sir," I said, shaking his hand, "your grandson saved himself. I only helped him find the right treatment." Judge Vale turned toward the guests. 3 years ago, my grandson returned from service injured and ashamed to ask for help. Colonel Bennett stayed with him through the night, arranged emergency care, and personally ensured he entered a recovery program. His wife approached, tears shining in her eyes. "You called us every week until he came home." Heat climbed my neck. "He was one of my people." "And you treated him like family," she said. Across the room, Sophie stared at me. Daniel had gone rigid. My father looked as though the floor had vanished beneath him. Judge Vale glanced at the empty chairs near the head table. "Why is Daniel's sister sitting by the kitchen doors?" My father stood too quickly. "There was a misunderstanding." "No," I said. The word surprised even me. I looked at Sophie, then Daniel, then my father. "He asked me to pretend I wasn't his daughter because he thought my career might embarrass your family." A whisper rolled through the ballroom. Sophie's expression hardened. "Embarrass us?" My father lifted both hands. "I only wanted the evening to go smoothly." Judge Vale's voice remained calm. "Then you confused smoothness with dishonesty." Daniel rose. "Dad told me beforehand," he admitted. "I should have stopped it." "Yes," I said. "You should have." The truth landed without shouting, and that made it heavier. Sophie walked to my table and pulled out the chair beside hers. "Please sit with us, not because Grandpa praised you, because you are Daniel's sister, and that should have been enough." My father followed me into the hallway before I returned to the head table. "I was intimidated," he said. "I thought they would measure us by titles." "They did," I replied. "Just not the way you expected." His eyes filled. "I made you small so I could feel acceptable." It was the first honest thing he had said all evening. "You cannot undo tonight," I told him, but you can decide whether this is who you remain." When we returned, he stopped beside my chair and faced the room. "This is my daughter, Colonel Nora Bennett," he said. I was ashamed of the wrong person. Dinner resumed slowly, then warmly. Daniel apologized again, without excuses. Sophie asked about my work, not my rank. Judge Vale spoke of courage as something practiced quietly. By dessert, my father no longer chased approval. He listened. I did not forgive everything in one evening. Real repair takes longer than applause, but when the photographer gathered both families, my father stood beside me and Daniel took my hand. This time, no one called me a friend.